Hello friends, now we are going to start with our standard costing part 4. This is a very important lecture for us, since in this lecture we are going to study fixed overheads. So fixed overheads is what I am going to cover. Now what is a fixed overhead? Fixed overhead is an indirect expense. It means it is not related to production. And the second important thing about it, it remains fixed for a particular period. So fixed overhead is not related to production, it remains fixed for a particular period. For example, we are going to pay a factory rent. So this rent is fixed maybe for 1 year, and say it may be 50,000 per month. So this 50,000 can be classified as fixed overheads. Now I'm going further. In standard costing, we have fixed overheads, cost variance. So this is a fixed overhead cost variance. What does it imply? What does it mean? The cost in fixed overheads is either under absorption or over absorption of fixed overheads. I'll tell you what is under absorption, what is over absorption, but remember one thing, that fixed overhead cost variance is nothing but under absorption or the over absorption of fixed overheads. Now friends, as a layman, you try to understand that if it is an under absorption, it means you are not able to recover the amount. So this is going to give you an adverse variance. And if it is over absorption, it means you are able to recover your fixed overheads, and this would give you a favorable variance. So remember one thing, the fixed overhead cost variance is under absorption or over absorption. If it is under absorption, then it would be termed as adverse, and if it is over absorption, it would be termed as favorable. Now I'm going further to tell you what is under absorption and what is over absorption. Friends, I'll give you an example. See, I have prepared a budget, and this is the recovery rate. We say recovery rate, and this is maybe our expenses. So in the beginning of the year, I had made a budget, and I had decided that I would produce say 10,000 units and sell it. And I had estimated that my fixed overheads would be say 50,000 rupees. So what would be the recovery rate? So 50,000, if I divide by 10,000 units, I'll get a recovery rate of 5 per unit. This is what I had budgeted or estimated in the beginning of the year. Now what has happened at the end of the year? In actual, I had maybe sold 12,000 units. So it's good. I've sold more units compared to my budget. and in real the expenses of fixed overhead was maybe 60,000. So 60,000 was in real the expense of the fixed overhead. Now friends, try to understand it. Now I don't want to go into formula, so try to understand it. I have sold 12,000 units, that is this, and my recovery rate is 5 per unit. In other words, 12,000 into 5, so I have recovered 60,000. 60,000 rupees I have recovered, and in actual also 60,000 rupees I have incurred. So in this example there is no variance, so I'll change my example. Say I will make these units as 15,000 units. So now let's see it. So in actual I have sold 15,000 units. My recovery rate is 5. So 15,000 into 5 is going to give me 75,000 rupees. Now friends, compare. You have recovered 75,000 rupees by selling this 15,000 units, and in reality you have incurred only 60,000. It means you have recovered more. So this is an example of over absorption, and this is going to give us a favorable variance. So I hope I have made myself clear. You will understand it properly once we are in the sum. So now I'm going further deep into the chapter. Now the next part what we are going to study is the fixed overhead cost variance is divided into two parts. One is called the expenditure, and the other part is called the volume. I'm not going much deeper. We will be able to understand it once we are in the sum. Okay, so one is the expenditure and other is volume. The expenditure is divided into two parts: budgeted minus the actuals. The volume is divided into, the volume is in units. And what does this volume means? The volume means change, delta is change in fixed overheads due to change in units. Rather produced and sold. So volume denotes a change in fixed overheads due to change in units produced and sold. This is very crucial to understand the variance. Now friends, concentrate on volume. As a layman, you try to understand that if the actual units sold is more than the budgeted units, so tell me whether it's good or bad. It's good. You have sold more number of units than what you had budgeted, and in this scenario the variance is going to come favorable. Fixed overhead variance is difficult since you need to know whether it's a adverse variance or whether it's a favorable variance, and in that part it becomes difficult. But we are not going to learn anything, we are going to understand everything. So now Now I'm just recollecting something. When I say fixed overhead cost variance, in our mind should be under absorption and over absorption. In case if there is an under absorption, the variance is adverse. If there is an over absorption, the variance is favorable. Friends, right now my target is just to make you understand whether it's adverse or favorable. Don't worry, we are going to go deep into the sum, but the crucial part of fixed overheads variance is to understand when it is adverse and when it is favorable. Now the cost variance is divided into two parts. One is the expenditure and the other is volume. In volume, what it means is there is a change in fixed overheads due to change in units produced and sold. It means if you sell more number of units, then your variance is going to be favorable. Now budget and actual, you can understand it. If your budgeted expenditure was 100 rupees and your actual expenditure is 80 rupees, it means 20 rupees you have saved. So this is favorable. So in this there is nothing to remember. So it's very simple. 100 rupees you have budgeted would be your expenditure. In reality you have spent only 80 rupees. So 20 rupees is what you have saved. So this is favorable. Remember, for volume, if more number of units are sold, then it will be favorable. Now I'm going deeper. So the volume variance is divided into two parts. Actually it is divided into three parts, but right now I'm not discussing the third part. So now the volume variance is divided into capacity variance, and then we have efficiency variance. So there are two parts, one is the capacity and one is the efficiency. Now friends, what do you mean by capacity is what you mean by the working capacity. So now we have to understand what is capacity. Capacity is the working capacity, and normally we associate with hours. Now you try to understand it. If the budgeted hours would be 100, so hours would be 100 and the actual hours are say 120. Now friends, try to understand it. Budgeted, I thought that the workers are going to work for 100 hours. In real they have worked for 120 hours. It means the working capacity has increased. It would be more better for machine hours. So I was thinking that this machine would work for 100 hours, but in reality this machine has worked for 120 hours. It means the working capacity of the machine has increased. So this is going to give me a favorable variance. Please remember it. Now we are coming to efficiency. So efficiency also is dealing with hours. So there would be a change in efficiency. And this you need to remember, very simple. See, I will be explaining it in a better way when we are in the sum. See, 100 hours you should have worked, and you have taken 120 hours for the same work. It means you have taken 20 hours more. So this is going to give you an adverse variance. Remember friends, this is what confuses. Both are in hours, but both have different meanings. In capacity, we consider the working capacity. In efficiency, we consider the working efficiency. So now I'm starting with the sum. I would be able to explain it in a proper way once we start. So I'm doing the sum. So compute various fixed overhead variances from the following information given by Asim Limited for the month of March. Production is budgeted 84,000 units, actual is 80,000 units. We have machine hours for 200, for 500. We have fixed overheads for 53,600 and 4,50,000. We have fixed overhead rate per unit and we have fixed overhead rate per hour. Okay, so we can start with the sum. So now we are with our first sum. I'm going to solve this with a small trick, so kindly pay attention. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare two parts. One is the budget and the other is the actuals. Here I'm going to write units. Here I'm going to write the recovery rate, and here I'm going to write the amount. Here I'm going to write the units, and here I'm going to write the amount. So one thing this you need to remember. The second thing is here I'm writing the machine hours. Here I'm writing the recovery rate, and here I'm writing the amount. Again, here is the machine hours, and here it is the amount. I don't want anyone to learn the formula. Kindly follow the lecture. Now the budgeted units are 84,000 units and actual is 80,000 units. So we are doing it 84,000 units in budget and 80,000 units in actuals. Okay. Then machine hours are 4 200 hours and 4 500 hours. Okay. So 4 200 hours and 4 500 hours. Yes. Then we have a fixed overhead in budget which is 453,600. Okay. So 453,600, 453,600. The fixed overheads are going to be the same. Then in actuals we have 4,50,000. Okay, so we have 4,50,000 in actuals. Now I can find the recovery rate. This you have to divide by this. So you're going to get the recovery rate. This you have to divide by this. So you're going to get the recovery rate. So what I'm doing is 453,600. I'm dividing by 84,000. 453,600. I'm going to divide by 84,000. So I'm getting a recovery rate of 5.4. 453,600. I'm dividing with 4,200. So I'm going to get a recovery rate of 108, and they have given us, I think so, 5.4 and 108. No problem. If they would not have given it us, we could have found it. So now we are done with the step 1. Now I'm going to do the step 2. So the step 2 would be, we have to prepare a ledger account which is fixed overhead cost account. So this is to bank the actual overheads which we have paid. So we have paid 4,50,000 rupees. So 4,50,000 is the actual overheads. Here we have to write by recovery of fixed overheads by the sale of units. So friends, how many units we have sold? We have sold, friends, 80,000 units. So have sold 80,000 units, and we have a recovery rate per unit is how much? The recovery rate per unit is 5.4. So 5.4 is the RR, the recovery rate. So 80,000 into 5.4 is going to give me 4,32,000. Very simple. Now use your common sense. You have incurred in actuals 4,50,000. You are able to recover 4,32,000. In other words, there is an under recovery. So there is an under recovery of fixed overheads, which you can also say under absorption. So 4,50,000 minus 4,32,000 is going to give me 18,000. So yes, we have done it. So we are ready with our fixed overhead cost variance. We know that there is an under recovery, so we can tell the examiner that it is a case of under absorption of fixed overheads. It means this is 18,000 adverse. So we are done with one part. So I'm moving further. Now cost variance is divided into two parts. One is the expenditure variance, and the other part is the volume variance, and volume have to always take in units. In expenditure variance, you have to get a very simple formula: budgeted expense minus the actual expense. Very simple. How much is the budgeted expense? You have budgeted 453,600 and in actual it's 4,50,000. Okay. So 453,600, you thought that this would be your fixed overheads, and in real it is just 4,50,000 rupees. So yes, this is a favorable variance. 453,600 minus 4,50,000, so we have 3,600 rupees favorable variance. Now friends, we are going to do the volume. This is also simple. The budgeted units which you thought you would sell, so sold, it is your budget, and actual units sold, and this you have to multiply by the recovery rate per unit. Very simple. So you thought how many units you are going to sell? You thought you are going to sell 84,000 units, and in reality you have sold just 80,000 units. You thought you would sell 84,000 units, and in reality you have sold just 80,000 units. It means you have sold less number of units. So this is going to give you adverse variance. We should know the recovery rate per unit. And how much is the recovery rate per unit? 5.4. Okay. So 5.4 is the recovery rate. So 4,000 into 5.4 is going to give me 21,600 adverse. So I'm going to reconcile here. 3,600 favorable and 21,600 adverse. So I'm going to subtract it. 21,600 minus 3,600. So I'm going to get 18,000 as adverse. Is it tallying? Yes, 18,000 adverse. It's tallying. Now friends, I'm rubbing this part and we are going further deep. Now fixed overhead volume variance is how much? It's 21,600 adverse. Okay, 21,600 adverse. Okay, it is going to divide into two parts. One is called the capacity. Sorry. One is called the capacity and the other part is called the efficiency. Okay, now concentrate only on capacity. We are talking about working capacity. Working capacity. Higher the working capacity, better it is. So friends, and capacity is always in hours and efficiency is always in hours. Remember it. Now let's see what is our capacity. I'm highlighting something. So I will be using this. I thought that the machine would be working for 200 hours. This was my budget. In reality, the machine has worked for 500 hours, my friends. It means the machine has worked more. The working capacity of the machine is more. So I thought the machine would work for 200 hours, but in reality the machine has worked for 500 hours, which is good. So this is the budget and this is the actuals. Very simple. And we have to get the recovery rate per hour. So how much is the recovery rate per hour? It's 108. Okay, so it's 108. So one thing we are sure, since the capacity has increased, it is going to give me a favorable variance. This much only you need to remember. 4,200 minus 4,500 into 108, so will give me 32,400 favorable. Now many students do plus minus, it's coming plus, it's coming minus. This way you can't study standard costing, you have to understand it. Now we are doing with efficiency. Now friends, efficiency is always in hours, so remember 4,200 hours I took to make 84,000 units. It means 4,200 hours I took to make 84,000 units. And in actual, how many units I'm making? In real, friends, I'm making 80,000 units. So very simple. In real, I'm making 80,000 units. This is going to give me the budget for the actual output. Remember this. So I'm getting the answer for 200 into 80,000 divide by 84,000. So I'm going to get 4,000 hours. Very simple. Now budget and actual. I should have taken 4,000 hours to make this particular output, and in real I have taken 500 hours. This is bad. So this is bad, friends. This is the working capacity, and this is working capacity related to efficiency. So the same number of units you should have taken 4,000 hours, but in real you have taken 4,500 hours. So this is going to give you and adverse variance. Only remember this. This is the difficult part of fixed overheads. And then we have to multiply by the recovery rate per hour. Very simple. Recovery rate per hour is 108. Yes, we are done with the sum. So it's 108. So 4,500 into 108 is going to give me 54,000 rupees adverse. So I'm going to reconcile here. So 32,400 favorable, and then we have 54,000 as adverse. So what we are going to get is 54 minus 32,400. So we're going to get 21,600 as adverse. Is it telling? Yes, 21,600, it's adverse. Thank you, friends.